Welcome. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for quite some time, but I always kept putting it off. But I think 6 months worth of movies to talk about is enough, and so I'm finally going to sit here and talk about them. There isn't very many movies, but I've kind of bought over the last 6 months. Starting in March, I bought from Arrow, Criterion, Vinegar Syndrome, and Hamilton Book, and the Goodwill. So I'm going to be just doing a big old mashup video here. I at least have like 2 or 3 buys from each place, so I'm like, you know what? I'll just finally sit down and talk about these movies. I'm going to break it up here in this video, so I'm not just mashing it all together. I'm going to make it look nice and neat. So I'm going to start with Arrow and Criterion purchases way back in almost the beginning of the year, way back in March. I bought from Arrow Video House 2, and the Steelbook of Robocop. I haven't yet to be able to watch the House and House 2, the second story, because I was saving them for later in the year for the 31 Days of Fright, where I watch a different horror movie for each of the days in October. But I did manage to sit down and watch the Robocop and the director's cut. I had a blast watching this. I watched it on my 4K TV, in surround sound. The director's cut, it was just like, I loved it. It looked so good. I was just taken aback by it. I'm like, oh my god, I just enjoyed it. It was such a fun experience. I've seen that movie hundreds of times, but this is probably the best time I've ever actually really felt like I was watching the movie for the first time. So it was really fun. And then my one purchase from my Criterion buy, which was Blue is the Warmest Color. I really like this movie. There's scenes in this movie that really do drag on. If you've seen this movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But I do like the story. It's, even though it's what the content of this movie is, it's about this girl who ends up falling in love with another girl. The sex scenes in this movie do drag on very much, and they really do kind of take away from the movie itself, because that's really what some of the critics and like people who like know of this movie really harp on. But it's a good 2.5-hour movie. I do believe that's how long it is. But I love long movies, and I love foreign films in general. I have quite a few of my film collection as it is already, from all over the globe, and I just at least want to try to get at least one from everywhere, just to have a nice diverse selection of movies. So those were my first haul from way back in March. So I'm going to fast forward like a couple months in for my Vinegar Syndrome. Only got 2 buys from here, which was Tammy and the TRex. I have been wanting this. I remember this when this first came out. The only scene that I remember from when this movie came out was at the very, very, very end of the movie. Spoiler. When Denise Richards' character is doing a little bit of a striptease for Paul Walker's brain, and it's just his brain is just kind of sitting in this little device as keeping him alive, and you can hear his voice. He just doesn't have a body, and which is kind of interesting on its own, but it's just like, it's funny. It's very cheesy. This is actually, I bought it because it has the gore cut. Has all the gore reinstated into the film, and I didn't realize how gory it actually was compared to the PG-13 version, which is also included on the disc. I watched the special features with Denise Richards, and I thought that was really fun. She actually really takes ownership of her role in this movie, and I love when actors do that. I hate when actors denounce roles that they chose and stuff like that, especially their earlier films. And when she was just talking about how she really likes this movie, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I really, really like that. And my other buy is Hell Comes to Frogtown. I am a huge wrestling fan, so I had to have this because of Roddy Piper. Piper. Um, he is in my favorite John Carpenter film, They Live, and I had to have this one. I've only watched a little bit of it. Um, I'm about halfway through the movie currently, but it's basically just this guy he's the last fertile man, and the mutant frogs have kind of kidnapped a bunch of virgins, and like he's on a rescue mission to kind of go get them and repopulate the world. So that's basically a quick, simple synopsis of the film. But the CG, from what I've seen, from what I've watched, I love the practical frog effects. It's just really good, and it feels dirty too. It just like feels like has a grit to it. So those are my buys. Earlier when I bought these, I bought them and I didn't even get them until like almost a month later due to like the high volume of traffic this particular sale was going on, because that my friend the 13th Wolfman here on YouTube, he kind of turned me on to that sale, so I ended up buying just a couple as well, and it ended up taking almost over a month to get here, which was totally worth it because just the picture quality for both films were really, really good, and I love the special features. So my next haul was just from like a month or so ago from the Goodwill. I got the Meg on Blu-ray, and as well as the just kind of standard DVD version of Clerks, which I have been needing for my collection. I only have the 10th anniversary edition of Clerks, which comes with a couple different versions of the film and tons of special features. But I've always just needed just the standard DVD to kind of like fill out my collection, to make it like kind of a cool Kevin Smith collection. I'm only missing like one other edition for my standard DVDs, which is like the first edition of Mallrats coming out. That's about it. So I better hurry because there's a storm coming, so I'm going to have to kind of rush through this real quick. But these were only a couple bucks each. This was like $3, and this was like $2 or something like that. I tore the price tag off of it. But both are in like spectacular condition, so I'm like I couldn't walk out the store without these films. So as you know, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. I would have bought that movie regardless. But the Meg, I have actually seen, and I'm like, that's a good, fun, just popcorn movie. Like, oh, I just need something to kind of just take my mind off from the day. And I'm like, you know what? And I love shark movies, so I had to buy it. So my final haul for this video was literally just about a week or so ago, just of buying, and I bought from Hamilton Book. I've never bought from there before. Same with all my previous hauls in this video. I was watching this YouTube channel called Films at Home, and he was talking about how he bought a bunch of rare Criterion movies. I think that was some of the movies he had bought, like rare movies for under $5. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I went on there and I'm like, oh man, I was finding movies myself that I really wanted, and I ended up walking away with quite a nice haul. So some are kind of cheesy, I understand, but like these are the movies that I really like. So the first up is the Marine 6 Close Quarters. I have all the other Marine movies, and I could ever find this movie on standard DVD, and I have the rest of the collection in Blu-ray, and I'm like, I'm not going to mix and match, especially when it comes down to just one movie. And they had it for like $5, and like into my cart it goes. So next is an actual Arrow release of Ronin. I have not seen this movie in quite some time. The only part of this movie I really remember is the chase scene on the mountain. I do believe it's been a while, and I just can't wait. I love Robert De Niro movies, and I love Jean Reno, like from Leon the Professional. Like that is one of my favorite movies of all time. And this actually shows up in that Films at Home video he was talking about. And I'm like, oh, that's a really nice addition, and I'm like, I'll just have to get it myself. And it was like $7, or $8. So I was like, it was really nice. It was a really nice find. Then here's kind of I bought it. I like terrible movies. That's just a guilty thing of mine. Sometimes I just have to buy just terrible movies, and I had to buy it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. And my final buy, the most expensive one of all the buy, was like $15, but I love this film. I actually bought it when it first came out. I had the standard DVD, but once I found out there was a director's cut of this film, or like an extended cut, I had to have it, but I could never really find it. Or then when I was like searching for it, I just didn't like the price for it at the time, or just something was like not clicking with me. So I finally bought it. It was Sukiyaki Western Django. I love this. It's just a mix of a Western, spaghetti Western with I think Japanese culture. Yeah. So it's just like, oh, I just love it. I love it. I love it. It has Quentin Tarantino in it. This is my kind of movie. This is the type of movie where like I will just sit and watch movies. Like same with Blue with the Warmest Color, Heavy Metal. I mean, just these are just kind of like I like the movies that don't get a lot of attention, and this is one of the movies that does not get a lot of attention, in my opinion. When you see countdown lists all over YouTube, they just don't mention this movie all that much. So, or at all. So, last 6 months have been really good to me when it comes to finding movies that I've been wanting, or just kind of like movies. So, in general, so that's all I have to say. My name is Max James, the one and only MSJ. If you like this video, please click subscribe, hit the bell to stay notified for any future videos, and that's it. Just thank you.